All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Today we're tackling a question that I think is probably on a lot of people's minds,
Yes.
and it's something that I think is always going to be relevant no matter what.
Oh.
Can money buy love?
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's a juicy one.
Yeah.
And to really get into this, we're going to be looking at this podcast called Money and Love, Can You Buy Affection?
Okay.
And specifically, we're going to be looking at episode 1,
Right.
where they kind of just jump right into this whole debate.
Can money buy love? That's the question, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I mean,
It's been
debated forever.
It has.
I mean, can it?
Well, and that's what's so interesting about this podcast is they don't just assume that we all have the same definition of love or money.
Right.
Like, are we talking about romantic love?
Mm-hmm.
Are we talking about familial love
Oh,
or
sure.
the love between friends?
Yeah.
And when we say money,
Right.
do we mean like straight up wealth, like just piles of cash? Or is it more about the feeling of security that can come with financial stability?
Right. Because there's definitely a difference there.
There is.
There is.
So I love that the podcast starts there because it forces us to get a little more nuanced.
I like it.
Right. It's not just a yes or no, black or white.
Yeah. And it gets even more interesting when they start talking about how money can actually contribute to love.
Oh, interesting.
Indirectly, that is.
Okay.
They actually mentioned a study in this episode that found that couples who felt financially secure had lower levels of those stress hormones.
No, that makes sense.
Right. So it's not that money equals love, but it can remove some of the obstacles that might be blocking it.
Right. If you're constantly worrying about bills,
Exactly.
it's hard to be present with your loved ones or even emotionally available.
Exactly. And there's less to fight about.
Yeah, that's so true.
You know, if money's not an issue, you can focus on other things.
Right. So in that sense, having that financial stability can definitely create a better foundation for a relationship.
I think so.
But then the podcast kind of throws a curveball. They're like, okay, what about gifts?
Ooh, yeah, the whole gift-giving
They're
thing.
like, can a diamond necklace really replace a deep conversation?
Right, like, can you just buy someone's affection?
Yeah, and I mean, that's a really good question.
It is.
Because it gets to the core of what we actually value in a relationship.
For sure.
And the podcast, they go on to share some listener stories where one partner was just showering the other with all these extravagant gifts.
Oh, wow.
But it turned out that it was all a way to kind of cover up for some deeper issues.
Oh, no.
It wasn't really about love. It was more about guilt or a need to control the other person.
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms.
It is. It's a big one.
Trying to buy someone's love.
It's interesting because the podcast has all these stories from listeners.
Oh, really?
Yeah, both heartwarming and heartbreaking that kind of bring these different perspectives to life.
I bet.
There was one in particular that really stuck with me. It was about this couple who were struggling financially, but they found these really creative, low-cost ways to show their love for each other.
Oh, that's nice.
It was really sweet, and it really highlighted that you don't need those grand gestures all the time.
Yeah, sometimes it is the little things.
It is the little
that
things.
really make a difference.
Exactly.
Those small acts of love.
Yeah. So that story kind of brings us to the other side of their argument,
Okay.
which is that true love can't be bought.
That's right.
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 Like, you can't put a price tag on it.
That-
And the podcast, they really emphasize the importance of shared experiences,
right.
emotional intimacy, and those deep, meaningful conversations that you can't just buy.
Exactly. And they even had this quote from a relationship therapist in there
Oh, yeah.
who said, love thrives on vulnerability and authenticity, not on the size of your bank account.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
It's so true.
Because you can have all the money in the world, but if you're not willing to be open and honest
Yeah,
and connect with someone on a deeper level,
it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
And, you know, to kind of drive that point home, they brought in an expert on relationships.
Oh, cool.
And they pointed out that while money can definitely open doors to new experiences
Right.
and opportunities for couples to, you know, build memories together.
Yeah, travel the world.
Yeah, go on these amazing vacations.
Exactly.
It's not a guarantee of love.
Right.
Like, money might buy you that fancy vacation, but it can't guarantee that you're going to connect with your partner on a deeper level during that trip.
That's so true. I mean, you hear all the time about couples who go on these lavish honeymoons and come back broken up.
Oh, yeah. That's heartbreaking.
It is.
So where does all of this leave us?
I mean, can money buy love? What do you think?
It's tough. I feel like both the podcast and the expert kind of agree that financial security can create a more stable environment for love to grow.
Right.
but it can't manufacture love.
I agree.
It can't create genuine love.
If it were that easy, everyone would be in love.
Right. And I think that's a really valuable takeaway.
It is.
And it makes me wonder about something else.
Okay.
If those big, extravagant gestures don't equal love, what about the smaller things?
The little things.
The things we do every day?
Yeah, the acts of service.
Yeah. Could those be even more valuable expressions of love than we realize?
I think that's a great question for everyone to consider. What are those little things you do
Yeah, what do you do?
to show someone you care?
Right. It's something to think about.
For sure.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.